Okay, you should have seen my other presentation on variables by now, and I'm just going to give you a quick tour of where they go in Alice. Now, I have the world selected here, so I have a variable here that I'm regarding as global, and that's the acceleration of gravity. Maybe that's important in this world, and we might want to change it if we move our scene to Mars or something like that. But that's just an example. If we wanted to have a constant like the value of pi, we could create a new variable. And as I said before, one way to signal to yourself that you have a constant is to put it in uppercase. And for our value, we can set it to 3.14159. And there we have it. Now, as I said, Alice doesn't know the difference between constants and variables. It's just a question of how you want to treat it. So this is just signaling to yourself that you don't want ever to change this, that it should only have one value. All right, let's look at the flamingo next. I've already given it a variable, and that would be its mass. I'm saying the flamingo weighs 2 kilograms. I have no idea what a flamingo should weigh. But just as the other variables I showed you belong to the world, this variable belongs to the flamingo. Now, I intended the world values to be available to everyone, but in Alice it doesn't really matter. The flamingo is an object, the world is an object, they're all just objects. So there's really no difference to Alice. It's a question of what you want to do with the variables. Okay, let's look at this method I created for the flamingo called walk. And we have three parameters. We have the number of steps we want it to take, the number of seconds that we want it to take in doing those steps, and just for illustration, I added the force of gravity. And so if we look at the call to flamingo walk, we want it to take 10 steps in 5 seconds. And since we can't get to this world variable, acceleration of gravity, inside the method, we have to pass it along as a parameter. And this is how we refer to it. It says world, which indicates that the world is what it belongs to, and then a dot, and then the name of the variable. Now, in Alice, we select this by a menu, but if you were writing in a language like Java, you would just type these in. Okay, let's go back to our method. So we have three parameters, and anytime you have a parameter, you have to include all those parameters when you call the method. Sometimes it's called invoking the method, but it's the same thing. It's requesting that it run from inside your main program. And now we have local variables. These variables are reachable only inside this method. So if you go to another method or anywhere else in the program, these are invisible. They're only valid in here. And you can give them an initial value when you create them. And I could define the value of pi in here also and give it an initial value, and we could treat it as a constant. But in this case, we're giving these new values because we want to use them in the program. If you know any physics, the force due to something's weight is the mass times the acceleration of gravity. So in this case, I'm computing that. And if you have no idea what that means, don't worry about it. This is a little more comprehensible. The seconds per step for the flamingo. If it's, as we called, taking 5 seconds for 10 steps, then this would have the value of 1/2. And the only real use for this is if we use it a number of times in the code that we use to make the Pelican move, we don't have to recompute it each time. We just say seconds per step whenever we need that value, and then it will work for us. Okay, since we're only talking about the variables, I haven't had it do anything, and we won't talk about having it do anything. So I hope that has reduced your confusion rather than increased it. But in any case, if you still have questions, bring them up in class or contact me. Good luck.